So just last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, at some bloody point anyway, I banged on at great length in one of these here videos about the best phones of the year so far. And while we've already had quite a few crackers in 2024, a veritable smorgasbord of shiny smartphones still linger on the horizon, waiting for their turn to dazzle in the next few months just before Jolly St. Nick slams ours first down your flue. So without further waffle, here's a selection of some of the best smartphones still coming in 2024. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 9 Pro are two of the biggest flagships launching later this year, although many leaks point to this duo actually turning into a trio in 2024. Now we'll still have a Pixel 9 and a Pixel 9 Pro as usual, but apparently the Pro model is no longer a massive git. The Pixel 9 will be your regular 6.2-inch pocket pleasing blower, while the Pro is now just as refreshingly dinky. Web rumblings reckon you'll get a slightly bigger screen at around 6.3 inches, but those bezels surrounding it will be a wee bit slimmer, so the hand feel will be just as goosh-worthy. And then for those of us who absolutely insist on stashing something massive in our pants, well, Google is apparently introducing a third model. This should be called the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and it will be the usual 6.7-inch shithouse. And personally, I'm ecstatic about this bugger battery with the regular format. I love that compact hand-friendly design of the regular Pixel 8, but I do also miss some of the Pro features when I'm using it, like that proper telephoto camera lens. Not that temperature sensor, mind, that's still proven about as useful as a condom machine in a nunnery. However, while those Pro models will rock a smudge-resistant matte backend, the regular Pixel 9 will unfortunately have a glossy arse just like the Pixel 8. I say unfortunately because the Pixel 8's glossy rear does get muckier than your mum after a pint of Drambuie, so I really wish that Google had gone all matte for all three of these blowers. The Pixel Trio will naturally be powered by Google's latest Tensor G4 chipset, yet another collaboration with Samsung. And possibly its last too, if Google goes solo for the Tensor G5 next year, which is another heavily rumoured bit of internet goss. Now online posturing today suggests that the Tensor G4 will be a mere smidge of an update over that Tensor G3, at least as far as raw throbbing performance goes. And that's certainly backed up by some leaked and less than impressive Antutu scores for all three new Pixels. If it's sheer beef that you're after, you might want to have a squint elsewhere because the Tensor will be all about AI-powered shenanigans as usual. But that said, the new Pixel 9 shouldn't struggle too much with a good bit of Genshin and the latest games. And no prizes or enthusiastic hand shandies for anyone who guesses that the Pixel 9s will come with Android 15 out of the box, complete with various camera and security updates, plus improvements for foldable devices. Hopefully should be particularly good news for the Pixel Fold 2 when that eventually shows its face. And you could also expect Google to continue its slightly deranged, if undeniably generous offer of 7 years of OS and security updates. In addition, the Pixel 9 series could introduce a new Gemini-powered AI assistant called Pixie, which should inject some much-needed smarts, as the current Google Assistant is frankly about as clever as the average Steven Seagal script. I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator. To the blood bank. Of course, we'll have to wait to see if Pixie is any less likely to make you want to hurl your phone at the nearest wall and then stomp the shattered remains into dust. But that machine learning shenanigans should at least give it a bit of a leg up with more complicated tasks. And apparently Pixie will even work offline, although I'm guessing only for the more simple tasks like setting timers and getting it to say, "I love you," because frankly you've forgotten what those words even sound like. Don't expect huge advancements when it comes to the camera hardware, mind. The Pixel 9 will once again sport a dual lens setup with a regular and ultra-wide shooter slapped into a funky new pill-shaped camera bar. The new compact Pixel 9 Pro will upgrade this arrangement to a triple lens situation with a bonus telephoto snapper wedged in there. And then apparently, according to some web rumours, the Pixel 9 Pro XL will then further upgrade that telephoto shooter, serving up a zoom capability thus far unheard of on a Pixel blower. And if all of that saucy internet hearsay has got you jiggling about in your seat like someone just poured itching powder into your jockstrap, well, you might want to take a cold shower and just calm down a bit, because as usual, Google is not expected to launch these Pixel blowers until the first week in October. As for the pricing of these blowers, well, it's pretty much pissing in the wind as usual, but you can expect the Pixel 9 to start at around the 700-ish pound mark. You have to bump that up to around 900-ish for the Pixel 9 Pro, and then probably about a cool grand for the Pixel 9 Pro XL. And around the same time as that 9 series, Google's also expected to launch its second generation foldable phone, the Pixel Fold 2. Just in time for you to stick it on your Christmas list and then harbour deep feelings of bitter resentment when Jolly St. Nick brings you bath bombs instead. Android Authority managed to get its mitts on this photo of what is possibly a Pixel Fold 2 prototype. And if this cheeky snap doesn't turn out to be a festering bag of bowel evacuations, then you can see Google's design has changed considerably compared with the original Fold. Apparently the new model will be a lot more narrow than the old original Pixel Folds. You can expect more similar dimensions to the likes of the OnePlus Open, this here Honor Magic V2 and other recent foldables. And if that's the case, it's a bit of a shame because I really like the unique squat design of the first Pixel Fold. That cover screen was easy-ish to use one-handed despite the phone being a full-on chonkster, while this unconventional design also meant that the interior screen was well built for reading manga, which is great news for massive raging nerds like me. And that said, neither display was really ideal for watching movies on the Pixel Fold, with thick letterboxing to contend with no matter your choice. So cinephiles should prefer the fresh 2024 design, as the cover panel will have a more appropriate aspect ratio. And it also appears from this here leaked image that Google is finally done with the horizontal camera bar that stretches edge to edge, opting again for a more conventional finish with those optics shoved away in a corner. I mean, personally, I'm just kind of hoping that the new Pixel Fold isn't quite as thick or as hefty as the original bad boy here. Compared to Honor's Magic V2 and some other recent foldables, Google's Bendy Wonder is a proper door wedge, prompting quite a common reaction. Is that a Pixel Fold in your pocket, or are you just inappropriately aroused on this bust despite multiple lawsuits and a court order banning you from all public transport? But I gotta say, one of the biggest problems with the Pixel Fold is the software, which often is about as enjoyable as churning butter with your face. Quite a few Android apps still can't cope with the big screen, and so you end up with enormous ugly pillars, and occasionally when an app does go full screen, you're left with big barren bits that look proper gash, or the app just muffs up entirely. And a bit of G4 action is certainly good news, because even though I was happy-ish with the Pixel 8 performance, it would be great to see a boost to the gaming chops, and the original Pixel Fold's battery life could do with a proper boot up the arse as well. And so far it's all been very quiet on the camera front, beyond the fact that the Pixel Fold 2 might not have that full-on bar action. It looks like we might get 4 sensors stuffed onto this early version at least, so presumably regular, ultra-wide and telephoto shooters, and possibly even another temperature sensor, just like the Pixel 8 Pro. And another improvement I'd like to see for the Pixel Fold 2 is a brighter internal screen that's less reflective, so there's less squinting going on. Now, Samsung has already been pretty ruddy busy in 2024, launching not only a trio of S-series flagship smartphones, but also a handful of A-series phones. And of course, it's still polishing up its ring, ready to dazzle us at some point. You can still expect big things from Sammy in 2024, including its fresh new Galaxy Z Fold 6, which admittedly kind of looks like the Galaxy Z Fold 5, but with a slightly different number at the end. And that should be launching in just a week or two, alongside a fresh new Flip 6. But then there's also the matter of the Galaxy S24 FE, or Fan Edition. Now first, for anyone unfamiliar with these phones, that name is perhaps a little bit misleading. They're not exactly devices made for the fans, they're more like a slightly cheaper alternative to Samsung's flagship phones with not quite as good specs. But then I guess the name of this phone would be the Galaxy S24 Scats of Bunkwags, which is, well, it's a bit bollocks, isn't it? Apparently the upcoming Fan Edition may come packing the same chipset as the regular Galaxy S24. So the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 if you're lucky enough to live somewhere like the States, and the Exynos 2400 if you're stuck here in a rather moist and dismal Blighty. And this choice of chipset would be a pleasant surprise for sure. Although the regular Galaxy S24 that we had here in the UK with those Exynos brains did still struggle somewhat when it came to gaming on the likes of Genshin Impact, as that compact design seemed to cause some thermal issues. Now still, Fan Editions tend to be a bit on the bigger side. The S23 FE, for instance, was a 6.4 incher, sitting neatly between the vanilla and the plus-sized S23 models. And as gaming on Genshin was a smoother experience on that bigger S24 Plus, here's hoping we'll get similarly good performance from an S24 FE, even with that Exynos still in charge. But of course, if this all-new Fan Edition sports the exact same chipset as the regular Galaxy S24, well, some compromises are going to have to be made in other areas to drive that price down. That camera tech seems the first obvious area where sacrifices could be made, so I'd expect a very similar setup to the S23 FE, including a 50MP primary shooter using one of Samsung's own sensors, plus a basic ultra-wide and telephoto sensor that are there if you need them, but overall not much cop. And that display will be a more basic AMOLED panel lacking that LTPO tech, and rumours point to another 4,500 mAh capacity battery, same as the S23 FE, with the same tediously slow 25W wired charging support and 15W wireless charging. As for the software, well, Samsung should slap on the same One UI 6.1 experience as those full-priced flagships, AI cockery and all. And no word yet on when the Galaxy S24 Fan Edition is likely to launch, but I'm hoping we don't have to wait the best part of a year for it. Now, one of my favourite phones this year, which you'll know if you actually watched that Best Phones of 2024 so far video, is the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. I also really like the regular Xiaomi 14, which is pleasingly dinky, so you can stick it in your jeans and still lunge as merrily as you like without stabbing your nethers to bits. But if you can't quite afford the Xiaomi 14 series of blowers, well, no worries. Xiaomi should be launching a more affordable alternative around September time in the Xiaomi 14T phones. So far, very little is known about the 14T, but speculation suggests it'll be powered by MediaTek's very capable Dimensity 9300, so it should be pretty bloody beefy just like last year's 13T. You can also expect a Xiaomi 14T Pro model to come along, which will likely boast upgraded camera tech, especially when it comes to zoomy type shenanigans. And both of them of course will run HyperOS, Xiaomi's latest launcher, which is packed to the tits with some pretty slick features and a whole heap of crapware. And then hopefully towards the end of the year we should also see a delicious slice of Huawei Mate 70 Pro action, building on that excellent Pura 70 Ultra which launched globally just a couple of months back. Little is known so far, but leaked renders show another bizarro triple lens selfie cam like the old 60, which is almost as weirdly distracting and intrusive as Apple's floating turd cam. This has both wide and ultra-wide sensors, plus a time-of-flight lens for accurate facial mapping. The Mate 70 Pro's rear cam should sport one of Omnivision's best sensors, a 1-inch beast to capture accurate pics day or night, and expect that same stupidly good Pura 70 tech for capturing unbelievable action shots. But as usual, no hot Google action. Sad face. And oh yeah, how could I forget Apple's latest iPhone 16 series? I actually didn't forget, I just couldn't give much of a f***. Lol, just joshing kiddies, of course the new 2024 iPhones are going to be magnificent and revolutionary, tech like we've never seen before. Rumours reckon the Pro and the Pro Max will have grown in size to 6.3 and 6.9 inches. So if you grab that Max model, you'll either need clown-style baggy pants or a backpack to carry the bugger about. You can expect that action button to spread to the non-Pro iPhones for this generation, while all 4 models should also gain a physical camera shutter button, just like Sony's Xperia's. And of course, some or all of the iPhone 16 should support Apple's belated stab at AI features. Although given that Siri is still about as clever as a bag of particularly dumb rocks, we'll see how that all goes. But it's not just expensive shiny stuff launching in the back half of 2024. You could also expect quite a few decent budget blowers to emerge before year's end, and in fact there's a couple of good ones set to launch in the next fortnight or so. Now first up, my interest has been highly piqued by Nothing's news that it's working on its first smartphone under the CMF brand. Whereas, well, we know CMF stands for cheap motherfucker, and possibly, perhaps. Details on this phone are about as thin as what remains of my bonnet, but the pic is certainly intriguing. One bloke on Twitter, or Twatter as it should probably be known these days, has posted his interpretation of what the CMF Phone 1 could look like, based on the teasy glimpses. And fair play, I reckon quite a lot of this will be true to the final product, including the bright orange design with the textured plastic finish for extra palm friction, to make the phone a wee bit less slippery. Not that I'm particularly bothered about that, as my RSI riddled hand is already locked into an iron grip like a sodden action figure. From holding too many phones, obviously. You can certainly expect a few wee features like the exposed screws if the regular Nothing phones are anything to go by, and yet a corner dial as well, which so far hasn't been explained but could be used for a range of tasks, possibly fiddling with the volume, zooming with the camera, stuff like that. However, Nothing also recently revealed a very interesting and massively confusing teaser video on the CMF Phone 1, which shows not only the rotating dial but also some other rotatory thing, and what appears to be the back end lifting off entirely. And a removable R certainly makes an awful lot of sense. After all, some classic budget blowers like the Lumia handsets allowed you to prise the back end off and replace it with an entirely different colour to suit your mood, while also giving you easy access to that battery. So it certainly looks like the CMF Phone 1 could give our nostalgia knobs a seriously good polishing. Expected specs have been flying around the internet like shit in a monkey pen, with most Mystic Tech megs reckoning that the CMF Phone 1 will basically be a Nothing Phone 2A but with significantly different design, including a complete lack of glyph lights. Plus you can expect a more basic chipset, possibly a regular Dimensity 7200 rather than the custom 7200 Pro that powered the 2A. We might also see another 6.7-inch screen, a 5000 mAh battery and basic camera tech, possibly just a single lens effort. And the CMF Phone 1 will be officially launched by Nothing on July the 8th at 10 o'clock BST in one of their community updates online. And it'll probably only release in a handful of select regions. Let's hope that Blighty is one of them, because let's face it, we're all skint as f*** here. But hey, even if the CMF Phone 1 doesn't land in the UK, you could have another excellent budget option courtesy of HMD Global. Because HMD, best known for its Nokia branded smartphones, could actually be launching some fresh new Lumia mobiles later in 2024. At least if these leaks aren't a bulging bag of baboon balls. Now, Lumia blowers were pumped out by Nokia between 2011 and 2014, and then Microsoft took over until the brand was brutally axed in 2016. And these iconic handsets stood out from the rest of the smartphone crowd for a couple of good reasons. First, they all ran Windows Phone, the classic tile-based alternative to Android and iOS. And second, they were more colourful than a pride parade, coming in pretty much every hue you could possibly imagine. So far, those leaks have pointed to a pair of new Lumia smartphones codenamed Tomcat and Nighthawk. And before you chortle, codenames are pretty much mandatory when it comes to Lumia phones. After all, some of the originals went by eye-lifting titles like Bandit, Glory, Chakra, and Doris. Shittest Gladiators reboot ever. And certainly in those leaked renders, the Tomcat and Nighthawk seem to be faithful to that original Lumia design, with a flat top and bottom and spangly so bright it hurts colours. Both are apparently IP67 water and dust resistant and sport a 120Hz OLED display and 108MP main camera. The Nighthawk is apparently the cheaper of the pair, downgrading the Tomcat's Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 performance to a Snapdragon 4 Gen 2, while also culling that secondary ultra-wide camera lens. But as some kind of form of compensation, the Nighthawk does also add in a headphone jack and microSD memory card storage, while the Tomcat's 4900 mAh capacity battery is also boosted in size a wee bit to 5000 mAh. And of course, Windows Mobile OS is dead as RIP, but while the HMD Lumias will come loaded with Android, you can always chuck on a Windows Mobile style launcher like Square Home to get that authentic Lumia vibe. New Lumias, can't wait. That is my happy place right there. Actually, no, scrap that. My happy place is round your mum's with a jar of peanut butter and a pair of crotchless lederhosen. And then there's also OnePlus, who is set to finally unveil the Nord 4 globally in the next couple of weeks. Should be powered by the Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 and have specs to take on any other mid-ranger out there, so stay tuned for my full review. And also, call me Mr. Optimistic. I'm still clinging on to some desperate shreds of hope that Asus is actually finally going to launch the proper Zenfone 11. After all we've seen so far is the Zenfone 11 Ultra, which is only remarkable in just how unremarkable it is. It's been a few months since we last saw any leaks on this 6.2-inch regular model, a dinky delight powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 with a centralized selfie cam orifice. And since then, there's been bugger all news really, not even a sniff. But come on, how can you have a Zenfone 11 Ultra when there's no Zenfone 11? You can't ultra size something that doesn't exist. That's just anarchy. And some of the phones I was hoping would creep out in 2024, like the OnePlus Open 2 and the Nothing Phone 3, look like they might actually be happening next year instead. Anyhow, those are the blows that I'm most looking forward to towards the arse end of 2024, but how about yourself? What's got you really excited? Definitely let us know down in the comments below. I'll be trying to review every single one of these blows that I've just been banging on about, so please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a really good rest of the week. Cheers!